Hello, welcome to another episode of Her Head in Films. I'm Caitlin, and I'm your host. On this podcast, I share my thoughts and feelings about the films I watch. They tend to be art house and world cinema. What makes this podcast unique is that I weave together my life experiences with a personal and emotional discussion of film. I explore the impact that cinema has on me and why I connect so deeply to it. As I like to say, my head isn't in the clouds, my head is in films. Today's episode is about the 1988 animated film My Neighbor Totoro, written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Set in rural Japan during the 1950s, this story follows two young sisters, Satsuki and Mei, who move to the countryside with their father to be closer to their hospitalized mother. As they explore their new surroundings, the girls encounter magical creatures, including the gentle forest spirit Totoro, who helps them navigate the joys and uncertainties of childhood. This film is rightfully a beloved classic that captures the beauty of nature and the comfort of imagination. Before I get into this episode, I want to talk about a few personal things. This podcast has always been personal. It has always centered around my life, my experiences, my emotions, and my subjectivity. I am recording this about a month and a half after the death of my mother, and her death will inform this episode. I know that there are going to be people who find me through this episode who have never listened to me before. Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki are iconic and very famous, and I suspect this might become an episode that is more downloaded than my other episodes. There are going to be people who have not followed my journey and who don't know a lot about me. I've been doing this podcast for almost a decade. I started it in 2016. In 2020, I became a caregiver for my mom, who started to have health issues and became disabled, and I took care of her. She passed away in June of 2025. I lost my father when I was a teenager. I'm 36 years old right now as I record this episode. And so I've been through a lot of loss in my life. My mother was all that I had left in the world. She was my best friend, the love of my life, my soulmate. I have always lived with her, except for a period of time when I went away to college in my 20s, my early 20s. We were intertwined with each other. And the last 5.5 years have been profoundly painful, and they have changed me forever. Her death, and now the fact that both of my parents are gone, that pain was alive inside me when I rewatched My Neighbor Totoro for this episode, because My Neighbor Totoro is about a family. There was something very moving to go back to this film when my own family is basically no longer here, because I was very close to my parents. I'm an only child. It was me, my mom, and my dad. We were the three musketeers. That's what we called ourselves. And so when I talk about My Neighbor Totoro, if you're a new listener, you may not be prepared for this episode or for my approach to cinema. This will be a very raw, emotional, and personal episode, and it's about what My Neighbor Totoro means to me. That's what I'm trying to get at with this podcast and with these episodes. I'm not just talking about the film, I'm talking about things that are larger than the film. I'm talking about life and loss and love and family. I'm talking about what I feel inside as I watch the film, what the film gives me, the gift of the film, because I believe that Studio Ghibli is such a sacred institution. It is such a beautiful offering to the world, what Miyazaki and the other people involved in Studio Ghibli, what they have given to the world. It is a gift that we should cherish. All throughout my life, art has saved me. After my father died when I was 16, I went to films and poetry and music and art I got through it because of the love of my mother, and I got through it because of my love and passion for art. And it saved me, and it continues to save me. When I was just a caregiver for my mom in 2024, I decided to go through the entire Studio Ghibli catalog. Over the course of a couple of months, I watched all of the films. Up until that point, I had only seen Only Yesterday and Grave of the Fireflies. And interestingly enough, My Neighbor Totoro was released as a double feature with Grave of the Fireflies, which is one of the most haunting, devastating films ever to be made. And I think My Neighbor Totoro is one of the greatest films ever made. I truly believe that. I watched this film for the first time in 2024 when I was 35 years old. I did not grow up on Studio Ghibli. I grew up on Disney animated films. I was not exposed to a lot of anime when I was younger, when I was a little girl. The only thing that I watched was Sailor Moon, and I loved that show and I still love it and enjoy it. But I didn't watch a lot of anime. It wasn't a big interest of mine. So I did not go deeply into the Studio Ghibli catalog until I was in my 30s, my mid 30s, which is wild, but better late than never. Going through the Studio Ghibli catalog, those 2 months brought me so much joy and comfort and delight. They reconnected me. It was similar to when I read Anne of Green Gables a couple of years ago. When I was going through the Studio Ghibli catalog, it really reconnected me to my childhood and to the girl version of myself, who I was as a little girl. The wonder and awe and passion and love for life. And I feel like as I've gone through so much since 2020, I feel like I lost access to that part of myself. I was suffering so much and watching my mother suffer and watching her health decline. And then she died just a month and a half ago as I record this, and she had cancer. The cancer diagnosis was separate from the other health issues she had been having since 2020. She was diagnosed with cancer in May, and she was gone by the middle of June. It happened very quickly. It was traumatic. I feel haunted by it. I feel traumatized by it. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what this life is. I feel I don't know. I don't know how to put what I feel into words. To be 36 years old, I just celebrated my birthday and she wasn't here. And we thought we would have more time. We were given a different timeline. She was given like 6 to 9 months and she was gone within a month and a half. And I was there by her side as she took her last breaths. I was with her as she died. And I loved her. I loved both of my parents so deeply. I miss her every day. I miss her to the depths of my soul. I miss my parents to the depths of my soul. It physically hurts. Every moment I am conscious, it physically hurts to be without her. It's like when she died, it's like time ended. It's like my life ended. Life as I knew it, those 36 years, almost 36 years that I spent with her. And I feel like I'm standing in the ruins. I'm standing in the ruins of my life. All of it's gone. My father's gone. She's gone. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I don't know what my life is now. I don't have a partner. I don't have children. I don't have a family that cares about me. I don't have a bunch of friends in my daily life. I live in a very isolated rural area of the South. My life has been a struggle for a very long time because I don't fit. I don't fit in the world. I'm too sensitive. I'm too emotional. I don't know, I'm too much. I don't I feel like a dinosaur. Like the way the world has changed. I kind of relate a lot to Miyazaki and interviews I've seen and interviews that I've read with him where he's very critical of the modern world. You know, he's critical of like what we're doing to the environment. He's critical of AI and computer generated stuff, how we're so disconnected from each other and disconnected from nature and the environment. He's so cynical and pessimistic But his films are deeply, I think, hopeful and optimistic and warm and beautiful. I feel like a dinosaur. I feel like I don't fit in this world at all. I don't think I ever will fit. AI and the way social media and the internet have changed, and the way these devices and our phones just rule us. And I'm someone who I just don't fit in. One of the only people who loved me was my mother. Her and my father loved me unconditionally. It's just like in My Neighbor Totoro. And I'm going to talk about all this. I know I haven't gotten to the film yet because I want to talk about this moment of my life. I want to talk about this loss and this pain. And it does connect to My Neighbor Totoro. It does connect to film. I'll share how it does in a moment. I want to be honest and raw and real. I need a space where I can express myself because every other space has been taken from me. The algorithm just buries people like me. Anything that I share on a social media website is never seen. Nobody notices it. This is my only outlet. This is the only way for me to share my voice, for me to talk about my life and what I am feeling and how I am torn apart. I'm torn apart. I wake up and I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I here? Because my mother's gone. And what is my life without her? I don't know how to live without her. I understand Satsuki and Mei. I understand their fear that their mother is sick and she's gone away to the hospital and they don't know what's going to happen. They're scared. They're scared to lose her. It was very different to watch this film with my mother gone and my parents gone. It added something very emotional for me when I was watching this film. And I want to try to share that, what it's like to watch a film like this and to see this beautiful family and your own family is gone. It feels like I'm walking through this crater. The absence is enormous. It's unfathomable. My brain just feels shattered. It's been so annihilating. I am so haunted by her last month alive when she was in hospice and I was taking care of her. It was so hard. It was so agonizing to watch her die. And in the time since her death, I've been having nightmares. I've been having flashbacks, and I see in my mind, I see her. I see her face. I see what happened and what I witnessed and what I went through. And I can't get these images out of my mind at times. I'm sharing all this because it does connect to film. It connects very deeply to cinema because sometimes all I can do is make it to the end of the day. And I have a projector now, and I'm able to watch films on a projector. And it's really opened up cinema for me because for ages I watched films on my laptop on a small screen. And now I have this little projector. It was inexpensive, and I project the films onto my bedroom wall. So I try to just wait until the night, and then I can put films on. And that's what I do. I lay in bed, and I turn on my projector, and I watch films so that the images on the screen can replace the ones inside my mind that won't stop. But they stop for a little while when I'm watching cinema. And some days that's all I can do is just lay there and watch those films. And that's how I stay connected to life. That's what I live for. That's how I survive. That's how I stay here in this life that she has now vanished from. I look at those images, and those images stir me and move me, comfort me, and give me solace. That is the power of film. That's the power of cinema. That's the gift of it, is that it takes us out of ourselves. It takes us into something greater, something beautiful, and we connect to the stories on the screen. So I can literally say that cinema is saving my life right now. And it was similar after my father died as well. Me and my mom used to go to the movies together, and we would watch different films. It's how I watch some films that I've covered on my podcast, like Pan's Labyrinth, which she actually was a guest on that episode. And you can hear her, you can hear us talking to each other about it. and The Lives of Others. I did an episode about that film, and that's one that I saw after my dad died. And so, cinema for me, it's not just entertainment or even escape at this point. It really is life saving. It is my salvation. It is my place of worship. As silly and cliche as that probably sounds, it is my place of worship. I go to these films, I sometimes feel like I'm crawling to them, and they connect me to life and to beauty. They make me want to be here. I look forward to them. I may not have a lot to look forward to because things are very stressful and difficult for me. I have the films to look forward to, and they bring me comfort and solace and consolation. And I think that Miyazaki would appreciate that. I think that he knows his films offer that to people. They bring wonder and magic into our lives. This is a very transcendent film. And when I say that I think it's one of the greatest films ever made, I mean it. And it's so fascinating to me that when it was released, it did not do well at the box office. It was one of those films that it just built up. I guess it built up following over the years. I think when it was shown on Japanese television and stuff, but at the box office it didn't do well at all. It wasn't until Kiki's Delivery Service that Studio Ghibli finally had a hit, and I love Kiki's Delivery Service. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to share some of that personal stuff about my mom's passing and how I'm dealing with it. Art has just always been what I go to. It helps me survive. It helps me bear the loneliness and to bear the painful things that I've been through in my life. I don't know what I would do without these films. This film, it reached inside of me. I did not expect to have the response that I did to it. It is my favorite Studio Ghibli film, 100%. For a while, it was Only Yesterday. I love Only Yesterday as well. I think that is such an amazing film. But when I watched My Neighbor Totoro, I just knew. I was just like, oh my God, this is my favorite Studio Ghibli film. It glows. And the way that I describe this film is that it has a spiritual radiance about it. It's transcendent. I still struggle, even though I am dedicating an entire episode to this film and trying to put all of my feelings and to articulate everything, I'm still struggling. And I don't really script things out when I'm doing these episodes. I have an outline. I have certain things that I want to say about it. But overall, I just kind of share my feelings in the moment. For me, I describe it as a spiritual radiance. There's no other way to describe it. And I think it's in the animation itself. The animators and those who were working on it, it wasn't just about the people that they were drawing. It was also important for them to draw the nature, to draw the trees and the flowers. I don't know if I've ever seen an animated film that glows the way that this one does. And I think you can definitely feel the Shinto and the animism, and there is something just spiritual about the film. And it's in that interconnection that you see between the characters and nature. Nature comforts them and holds them and heals them and protects them. And I know that Miyazaki deeply believes in this, that we are stewards of this earth, that we should be caring for it. And it was inspired by his own boyhood, in rural Japan, and even his own mother struggled with health issues during his adolescence. She actually ended up living for a very long time, but she struggled with some health issues. There are parts of Miyazaki in the film, and even though it's obviously not autobiographical or anything like that, he just brings that emotional depth, I think, to the film. And it's in the animation that they put just as much detail into those flowers and those logs and those fields as they do to the people, that the natural world is just as expressive as the human beings are, and they are intimately intertwined with each other and interdependent. The girls love being in the countryside, and it's during such a frightening period of their lives when their mother's health is not good. Everything's up in the air and they don't know what's going to happen. But not only is their father there to protect them, but the spirits of the forest and Totoro, and also the land itself is there to hold them and to comfort them. And I think that's really beautiful. And so that's what I mean by the spiritual radiance, is that there is an emotion in this film that is on a different register and a different level for me personally. And that story cuts to the heart of me because it's about a family, about a father and his daughters. I mean, if it were just one daughter, it would mirror my own life. Father, a mother, and a daughter. That's how I grew up. I just feel very connected to the film. And I also grew up in a rural area. I grew up in rural North Carolina, and I lived there for much of my life. I remember having a similar childhood as these little girls. I played in the forests, and I loved being outside. And so when I saw this family, these two daughters and this mother and father, even though we don't see the mother a lot, we see her a few times in the film, but this family unit reminded me of when I was with my parents, when I was whole. Watching this film now that my parents are gone, because when I first watched My Neighbor Totoro in 2024, my mother was alive, obviously. So when I rewatched it for this episode, I saw it completely differently. I saw it in a much deeper way. And for me, I guess the film became a kind of vessel. It became a space for me to remember, for me to think about my parents and my relationship to them. It's a little bit reversed for me because when I was younger, it wasn't my mother who got sick, it was my father. My father started to have health issues when I was about 13, and then he died when I was 16. There are things about the film that mirror my own life in that way. I know what it's like to be scared, what it's like to be worried about a parent, to not understand what's happening. And Satsuki and Mei, they are full of life and they're vibrant and energetic. And I love that about Miyazaki's films. I know I didn't touch on it, but I love his heroines. I love the way that he portrays women and girls, and that's a really beautiful part of this film. And so I know what it's like to be a child and to have to confront something very adult, very scary, something that you don't fully understand, and to have suddenly your safe little world, to have it invaded or disrupted by illness, and to not know what to do. And what this family does is that it takes comfort in each other. They go within, they create their little world in this house in the countryside. And the father is there for his little girls and loves them and tries to protect them. And then they don't just have the protection of the father, they also have the forest spirits. They have Totoro. They even have the elderly woman. They have like the community that is there for them. When May runs away, everybody's looking for her. These are little girls who are cared about, who are given love and support. And that doesn't happen for everybody. That unfortunately didn't happen for me. I didn't have that love and care and support. So when I rewatched this film, I saw it through a different lens. I saw it through a lens of loss because of my own loss. The thing is that the mother does not die. The mother lives. But when you're watching it for the first time and she's in the hospital and she's sick, you don't know what's going to happen to her. You don't know where the story is going to go. And that's how it is for those little girls. That's how it is for all of us as life unfolds, is that we don't know when a parent gets sick if they'll survive or if they will die. It's unknown because the future is always unknown. And so they're in a very precarious place in their lives where they don't know what's going to happen to their mother. Of course, everything turns out okay. That's a really beautiful part of the film, is that like not a lot happens. There's not a lot of plot. Nothing bad really happens. The mother is sick, but she doesn't die. May runs away, but she's found. And you have the cat bus and Totoro in the rain and the community. It's this film where I guess not a lot happens, but so much happens. When I saw this family on screen together, I thought about the family that I've lost. It inspired me, or it was like this catalyst for me to think about the family that I had, the relationship I had with my parents. And I told you I miss them to the depths of my soul. And so I thought about my childhood. I thought about my childhood home. I thought about memories with my mom and dad, just like the little girls are with their dad. And I realized after I watched it, I was thinking about my parents a lot more after I watched the film. And in a lot of ways, now that my mom is gone, it's like a second death of my father. It's like he truly is gone now. Them as a pair, as a couple, as my parents, they're gone. All of that's gone. How they knew each other, their memories of each other. I can never access that. I can't ask my mom questions about my dad the way that she knew him, her memories of him. She took all of that with her, Like she was an entire universe, and everything that she ever thought and felt and held, her history and the way she knew me and my history and the way she knew my father and his history, she took all of that with her. When a person is lost, an entire universe is lost. So it's like he died a second time in a way, and they as a pair are now forever gone. And I am the one who is left to remember them, to mourn them, to live on without them, to bear witness to them. It's like the circle has closed and I have stepped outside of it. I am alone. I am no longer whole. I'll never be whole again the way that I was with my parents. And so I see these little girls, Satsuki and Mei, with their mom and dad. And I remember when I was a little girl with my mom and dad, and all of it's gone. And so this film, it was sort of like this space to both remember and to mourn. And maybe that's what happens when you watch children's films as an adult. I mean, I think the Studio Ghibli films are not just for children or anything. They're about children, but you can appreciate these works of art at any age. But you're going to think about different things at 20 when you have both your parents. A lot of people tend to have their parents longer than I had mine. You're going to feel differently when both of your parents are alive at 20 than me at 36 with my parents gone. I watched something like My Neighbor Totoro, which is about this family, and I have a different experience of it. I notice different things about it because I've said this many times, but we bring ourselves to a film. We bring our thoughts and feelings and our histories and our lives to whatever film we're watching. And so I bring an entire history to My Neighbor Totoro. And seeing this family reminded me of my own family, my lost family. And it also reminded me though, because it generated memories. And I thought about just different moments with my parents. I also realized that they are gone, but they still exist. That time exists. It did happen. Those memories happened. That life happened. And it was my life. And those moments echo inside of me in the darkness and in the silence. And I was asking myself, I was like, where has it all gone? Where has all of that time gone? All of those years, all of those memories, all that love, This is a film about a family that loves each other, parents who love their daughters, daughters who love their mother and their father. And that's what I had. I had a wonderful relationship with my parents. It was the only unconditional love that I've ever known. And I have struggled to find any kind of love and connection outside of my parents, unfortunately. I've struggled with loneliness and just not being able to find people who I connect with in my real life, in my daily life. Where has all of that gone? I think about all those years and all our moments together, watching TV and vacations we went on and places we went, everything, everything that happens in a family. Where do those memories go? Where does that time go? Where does that love go? And I remind myself it's not gone. It's gone, but it's not. Like, I don't know how to describe it. That's like memory is so complicated in the past. I lived it. I knew it. It's still inside me. It still exists. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still here. It's in my cells. It's in my breath. It's in my voice. These two people created me. They gave so much to me. They gave love to me. And I have to keep reminding myself that the reason that I have to keep going, that I have to keep living, is so that I don't lose them again, because I want to keep knowing them and I want to keep remembering them. And that means that I have to wake up each day and I have to keep living and I have to keep going. I have to carry them on. I have to remember them, and I want to remember them. I want to know them, and the only way I can know them is to be here and to remember and to hold on to them. I am all that's left. I am the only one who does remember, because I'm the only one still standing who was there when those memories were created with me and my parents. So, in a way, this episode is like maybe a kind of elegy. It's a space for me to remember. It's a space for me to hold them again, to hold them in my words, to hold them in my voice, to talk about them. This film made me think about them and made me think about when I was a little girl and our memories and our life together. That life is still in me. You know, I incubate it and I hold it and I carry it. I carry those memories and I carry that love. That's what I'm made of. I'm made of that love. It created me and it sustains me even now. Satsuki and Mei get their mom back. That's the beauty of the film, that they're worried and they're scared, but they don't lose her. They get to have her. And in my own life, that didn't happen. I did not get my dad back, and I will never have my mother back, but they get to have their mom back. This family is not shattered. They're separated for a little while, but they move to the country to be closer to her. How beautiful is that? They uproot their lives so that they can be closer to their mother. This is a family that is coming back together. It is not a family that is going to be shattered or torn apart. And I think in my grief, I needed to see that. I needed to see a family that was whole. This is the perfect film for when you just want something gentle. You don't want anything bad to happen. You don't want to be reminded of the brutality of life, of the despair and the loss and the pain. These are girls who get their mom back. These are girls who are loved. This is a family that is intact by the end of the film. They don't lose anything. I'm so tired of loss. I am so tired of pain. I'm so tired of it. I can't even tell you. I'm so tired of it. And sometimes you need a film where there's a happy ending, where everything is okay, where people are safe and protected, and nobody is broken, where nothing is broken. Or if it is broken, it'll be fixed and it'll be okay. And things will be restored. Mom will come home. She'll be okay. Sometimes we need that. I think I needed it when I watched it this second time. They're facing something so painful, but they have each other. It's such a beautiful part of the film, is like how their dad is there for them and doesn't abandon them or ignore them or anything like that. They're in a painful place, but they have each other. This is a family that creates a universe of love and care and support that allows them to survive a difficult time. We are given a very rare representation and model of true unconditional love. Unfortunately, like a lot of films are about dysfunction, because that creates drama and that creates plot and all of that. But we often see like a lot of families that are dysfunctional and don't get along or anything like that. And unfortunately, a lot of people grow up like that. They grow up in homes where they don't feel seen, they don't feel loved, they can't wait to get out of it. That's not how it was for me. I adored my parents and I felt very loved by them. And so I saw my own childhood represented in my Neighbor Totoro. I love that we're given this model of unconditional love. That adds, I think, to the spiritual radiance of the film that I talked about earlier, because love for me is spiritual. It is life-giving and life-sustaining. And these girls are held by love. And I love the depiction of the father. I mean, he's kind of nerdy and bookish, but he's also tender and steady, and he brings joy. He brings joy to Satsuki and Mei. The girls are so close as sisters. I'm an only child, like I said. I always wished maybe that I had siblings, but I love how close they are. And they're not perfect. You know, they fight and once again, I love how Miyazaki gives so much depth and humanity to his female characters. There's such a safety and a warmth about this whole family. Love like that is rare and it leaves a lasting mark. That kind of love, it's spiritual in that it shapes you. Even though my parents are gone, the love that they gave me will outlast them. It is part of me. They are part of me. And the love that they gave me is part of me. I don't know who I would be right now if I did not have the parents that I had. I would not be who I am. I would not have this podcast. I would not be sharing my voice. And I use this episode to bear witness to that love. And I said it in my episode that I did when my mom was first diagnosed with cancer. I said that I hope if you think of me, the people who have listened to me over the years, and I've done this podcast for almost a decade, I hope that if people think of me, that they will also think of my parents. That's what I want. I want to honor them. I want them to be remembered in some way. And I'm trying to contribute something to the world. I'm trying to make an offering to the world of my heart and my soul and my emotional life and what I feel. And I want to make a positive difference. I want to affect people. I want to have a legacy or to touch others. But I never could have done that if I didn't have the parents that I had. I am a representation of them. And I hope that if people think of me and remember me, that they remember my parents and that some part of my parents will live on through my effect on the world, because the love that they gave me is why I'm still standing without them, because that's all I have left is the love. As I stand in the ruins of my life, all I have is that love. That is why I get out of bed. That is why I keep going. Even though I am alone, I am an orphan. I am totally alone in this world. It's a very frightening feeling. But I think that the life force that I've always felt was the love of my parents. I was lucky to know them. I was lucky to be close to them. And I was lucky to feel loved by them and to be loved by them. Satsuki and Mei are also lucky to have the parents that they have, parents who love them and try to protect them. And I'm grateful that this film really honors the relationship between parents and children and shows how beautiful it can be. There's another really great film by Studio Ghibli that does not get a lot of attention or love the way that it should, but it's actually one of my favorite Ghibli films, and that's My Neighbors the Yamadas. I absolutely love that film, and it is about a family. It is a really beautiful, funny, warm, big-hearted film about family. And that's what My Neighbor Totoro is. My Neighbor Totoro is a more intimate exploration of family, like this little universe of this mother, father, and these little girls. So much more intimate. But My Neighbors, the Yamadas, really touched my heart. We just don't often see a lot of films about like really beautiful connections between parents and children. Another film that comes to mind is Ozu's Late Spring. And I have an episode about that film. And I do think that I talk about my relationship with my mom in that film because there's this idea that you're supposed to leave the nest. You get to a certain age and you're supposed to get married and you're supposed to leave your parents. And yeah, that is a very natural part of life. That's the natural order of things. I don't disagree with that. But for me, I always, like Ozu, lived with my mother. And because I lost my father as a teenager, it made me and my mom extremely close. Very, very close. And we lived for each other. We survived for each other because we had nothing else. And so our bond was very profound and very indestructible. And so, not maybe that narrative isn't right for everybody, that you get married and you leave your parents and you have a separate life. I did not follow that narrative. I decided to stay with my mother and live with her and in her final years, from 2020 to 2025, I was her caregiver and I took care of her physically. And it was painful and it was difficult. And I've talked about it on various episodes. I did an episode about Michael Haneke's Amour. That was shortly after she started to have health issues and I became a caregiver. And then in an episode about Ingmar Bergman's Cries and Whispers, I went more deeply into what the past 5.5 years have been like. It is difficult. It was painful. I didn't have a lot of help or support. It's hard to watch somebody suffer, but I was there with her and I did it because I love her and I never would have left her or abandoned her. Some of us, I think, just have deeper relationships with our parents. A lot of people live separately from their parents. They might live in a different state or a different country or have hundreds or thousands of miles that separate them. She was in my daily life for 36 years. I saw her every day for 36 years. She was almost like a partner in that way. Like, I think sometimes it's hard to convey to people how close we were because a lot of people have lives separate from their mother or separate from their parents. They have their own kids, they have a partner. I've never dated, I've never been in a relationship or had a partner. I lived with my mother and she was my life. And when I became her caregiver, everything about my life revolved around her. And I sacrificed and I took care of her because I loved her. So some of us just have closer bonds with our parents. And we don't often see that in film, but you see it in My Neighbor Totoro. You see it in the Yamatos, and then you definitely see it with Ozu and something like Late Spring. So that's an aspect of the film that's really personal for me, is that reverence for the family unit, and that family unit almost being like a sacred thing. The very sacred and powerful relationship between children and their parents. Something that I want to really linger on is when I say that phrase spiritual radiance, I really am talking a lot about the countryside and nature. There is just something spiritual about the film. It radiates from it. It radiates from the animation. I don't think I've ever seen an animated film that glowed the way that this one does. It almost has a halo or something around it. But that radiance and that luminosity is hard to fully describe, but it is the natural world that is created in the film. It's set in rural Japan in the 1950s. This film is green and alive. It's an explosion, a profusion of green. Grass, trees, meadows. We see the glint of the water in a stream. It's this Edenic world. It's this Eden, this time before the fall almost. And I kind of see my own childhood that way. When I was little, before my dad got sick, I see it as this Edenic world, as like a very beautiful, wondrous time for me. And I think that that's present in My Neighbor Totoro, in this rural countryside that is created. And we get a sense of country life, water from a pump, clotheslines, acres and acres of farmland. There are bicycles, clouds, streams. Granny grows vegetables. There's the trees, of course, the massive trees. And then later on, the tree that Totoro helps grow. It's this pulsating world. It's a world in which everything is alive, not just alive with spirits, but with animals. The trees are alive. The trees and the water and the meadows and the grass and the soil, all of that is also alive. This pulsation of life, this heartbeat of life. Like the earth itself is a being. The earth itself breathes and is alive and conscious. And it made me think about my own rural childhood in North Carolina, like I said earlier. The film almost gave me these breadcrumbs back to my childhood, back to my relationship with nature. And the thing is that now, after losing my mother, and going through this really profound period of grief and mourning, or maybe in a way it's wrong to call it a period, or it's not necessarily an interval. It's not some temporary condition, is it? I will mourn her and him for the rest of my life. I don't think it will ever go away. I have to figure out a way to adjust to life. I said this in another episode, but grief restructures us. And that's true. And I'm living it. But I'm in a particularly painful period. Dante called it a dark wood. I'm in the dark wood. I'm in the dark forest. I'm in something unimaginable. And in a lot of ways, nature has once again become sacred for me after the loss of my mother. And as I'm going through this darkness and this mourning, nature has become a primary source of solace for me. And so recently, it's so interesting because I watched my Neighbor Totoro, and then one of my friends sent me information about this word, and I immediately made a connection between this film and this word by Hildegard von Bingen. And so it may seem unrelated, but to me, it's like connected to the film. So there's this word called viriditas. I don't know if I'm saying it right. And it's from Hildegard von Bingen. She coined it. And she was a 12th century mystic, as many of you probably know. And so viriditas, it basically means greenness, but it has like this greenness in terms of like the green that you see in nature, but that greenness has like a spiritual aspect to it. She used viriditas to describe the life force that runs through nature, the vitality of plants, trees, growth, all of that. So when I watched or after I watched My Neighbor Totoro and then I came across this word, I just connected the two in my mind because the film is so green. It has that greenness of viriditas, like this spiritual radiant green that you see in nature. Because when you look at the green of nature, the meadows, the trees, the grass, everything I was mentioning, and we see it in My Neighbor Totoro, that kind of green, it glows. It's so luminous that it feels spiritual. It makes you feel something that you can't fully explain. Like there's this mysterious power about the color green at times when we see it in nature. And that's how I felt when I saw the green in My Neighbor Totoro, because Totoro is just saturated in green, right? They are just like floating in a green world. And the film is just bursting with life. That greenness, that viriditas, like it feels like a kind of comfort, kind of healing. And I feel like viriditas is there in My Neighbor Totoro, is a green that is like spiritual, a green that is like sacred and healing because it emanates from the earth. It emanates from the trees and the meadows and the grass and all of it. There's certainly the Shinto inspiration and the animism, that kind of belief system for sure that Miyazaki is inspired by. When I found this word, it just illuminated the film for me. It like opened the film and took it to a whole other level. Like I think the way that Hildegard von Bingen described viriditas was like the greening power of God, this divine vitality in grass, trees, and even forest creatures. She would have been talking, I guess, about a literal God, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more about how nature and this greenness, how it inspires something very holy and sacred within us. And you just feel it in the power of the tree that just bursts into life. They do the acorns and then Totoro appears and the acorns grow and there's this massive tree and they are taken into the trees up in the sky as well. There's so much magic in this film, so much magic and wonder and whimsy. It's almost mystical. That huge tree, it's so majestic. In this film, trees are guardians. They are protective. They are consoling the way that Totoro is. And I love that scene where May is lying on Totoro's belly and he's breathing up and down and she's laying there on him and they're surrounded by green. They're surrounded by the forest. The forest creates this canopy and this shelter. That's That's what the trees do. And within that shelter, that's where magic comes alive. It's where imagination comes alive. It's where two little girls who are scared about their mother, it's where they find comfort and healing and protection. And so I still live in the rural South. And so I'll go out on the front porch a lot, and I'm surrounded by trees. We have a lot of trees where I live. And sometimes, I mean, particularly in the spring and the summer, it feels like I am just walking into the green, walking into that luminosity. And it's like it envelops me when I'm sitting out there and I see the rabbits in the yard and I listen to the birds. It's like these trees just surround me and hold me and almost cradle me and watch over me. And when I go out there, it's just like this explosion, this eruption of green, of exactly what Hildegard von Bingen was talking about. Greening power of God. That was her sort of definition of Veritas. And you do feel something spiritual or godly, even though I don't literally believe in God, but I feel something transcendent. I feel so connected to the clouds and the sky and the trees and the earth. I feel the consolation of the earth. And I love the way it smells. Like in the spring and summer, particularly in the spring, it smells like honeysuckle. And then in the summertime, I particularly love the rainstorms where you get the petrichor. You get the smell of the earth that saturates the air after it rains. You get that scent of the soil and all of that. And one of the only comforts and consolations that I have been able to find in the wake of my mother's death has been the pulsating greenery and foliage and nature that surrounds me. When I go outside, when I go walking, or when I just sit outside and marvel at it. Sometimes the sky is so bright blue, and then the grass and the trees are so luminous and green that I almost feel like I'm in a Studio Ghibli film. It is so vital and vibrant and alive. It's overwhelming. Just a few weeks ago, I was out there and I was listening to music and I was just staring up at the sky, and I had like a very intense experience of just being out there in the radiance, and it does bring me comfort. I mean, what else do I have? It's very powerful. It brings me calmness when nothing else does, when nothing makes sense. Sometimes I sit out there and I just cry. I cry in the privacy of that space. I cry and I know that I am watched over by the trees and the birds, and I do feel a sense of protection. I do feel a sense of safety when I am out there in nature. It's like it holds me just the way it holds the girls in the film. I think at a time when I'm so shattered and everything is chaotic and incoherent, it doesn't make any sense anymore. I think that nature brings a kind of stability. It brings something eternal and primal and unchanging. I mean, the seasons change, but you think about how long some trees have been standing. You think about how long the grass has been in existence. And you think about everyone who has walked by those trees or stepped on that grass. There is something very eternal about nature, something indestructible, resilient about it. You don't know how much it's seen, right? You think about all the people who came before you, all the people who will come after you, and all you have is this moment as you're standing there admiring a tree or laying in the grass or walking through a forest. These are things that have existed before you and will outlive you. That's what you feel when you're in nature. And so Totoro and the forest spirits and even the soot sprites, they are like an extension of nature. And I loved Totoro. I love the scene in the rain. I mean, it's so iconic. The thing about this film is like so many moments in it are legendary and seared into your brain. Even if you have not seen the film, like I had not seen it until recently, I knew of it. I knew of Totoro. I knew of the moments in the film, like in the rain or the cat bus or all of that. But it's so different when you actually watch the film. and you don't just have like these little moments from it or these images from it. And Totoro is he's a mysterious figure, but he's a guardian. He's watching over them. He is there for them. They know that they're not alone. I think that's also what's so powerful for me with the spirits and with Totoro, is that Satsuki and Mei know that they're not alone. And of course, they know that their dad's there for them, and Granny and the people in the community care about them. But Totoro is something more transcendent, or something more mysterious. It's this sense that life has not abandoned you, that there is something hopeful about life, that you are protected, that you are watched over. And that's what I think Totoro gives the little girls. And that's what makes him such a warm figure and such a beautiful figure. There's a reassurance about him. He's there. They are not alone. They will not be abandoned. They will have this force, this being who is there to watch over them. And they need that as little girls. They need to feel that. And maybe it is easier to feel it when you're a child. Whereas as you get older and you go through some of these things, and if you don't have religion or spirituality, it can be very scary, where you feel alone. And that's one of the worst things that you can feel. And Totoro is there to comfort them. He's there to shepherd them and guide them through this experience. I feel like he's a guide and a protector. He's there to let them know, you're not alone. I'm here for you, and you're going to make it through this. That's what they need to feel, is that they will survive it. That no matter what happens, whatever happens to their mother, but of course in the film, she's okay. But no matter what happens, that they will get through it. I think that's the deep comfort that Totoro provides, is that you're not alone. And you're not abandoned, and some force will be there to guide you and to help you and to support you, that you are safe and you are cared for, that no matter what happens, it will be okay. Like, that's sort of the beautiful message of the film, although I hesitate to say message, because it's not a didactic film, and I don't think there is a central message or anything like that. It's actually a strange film, almost psychedelic at times. Like I said, not a lot happens. It's just this beautiful, magical, mysterious, spiritual film. And the cat bus is so wild, so psychedelic, so whimsical and imaginative. Right? And it comes out of nowhere and it transports them through the sky to their mother. It's like, so it has like these really unusual elements to it. It's not like a traditional animated film, a traditional children's film even. There's all these interesting parts of it. Like, it's deeply emotional and you feel the connection between the parents and the children. But then it's also psychedelic, like I said, and strange, and unexpected things happen. There's not some big climax to the film. It just very gently unfolds and is about this family. It invites you into a world of magic. And I love that about it. This film matters to me. It matters to me in a way that not every film I watch matters to me. That tends to be the criteria that I use when I make episodes, is, does this film unlock something inside me? Does it stir my soul? Does it give me something that other films don't? And that's what My Neighbor Totoro is for me. It is a film that matters to me. It's not just a piece of animation, although it is a masterpiece of animation. It's a spiritual and emotional companion. Like I said earlier, this episode is like an elegy. It's a space for me to talk about some of what I'm going through and about my relationship with my parents. I wanted to honor them. I wanted to honor my childhood. I wanted to honor my life in some way. And I have to figure out a way now to live in this world as it is. I have to find a way to stay connected to life, to find comfort, to find consolation. Maybe in a way, I have to find my own Totoro. I have to find my own forest spirits. I have to find that protection and that consolation in the world. I have to remind myself that despite all the pain, that I'm not alone, that I'm not forgotten, that I'm not abandoned, that there's still life left for me. There's still something worth living for. even in the darkness, even in the fear. And maybe that's also the beauty of this film and the hope of this film, is that no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're confronting or what you're going through, you can survive it. I did not think that I could live without my mother. I'm still not sure how I'm standing right now. I don't know how I'm speaking, how I am here at all, because her death was so unfathomable to me, so unthinkable, and yet I am living it every day. Every single moment I have to live without her and without my father. And I thought it would destroy me. But I think that they loved me so much. They gave me so much love that that is what keeps me going. And maybe their love is what watches over me. Maybe their love is the life force within me and the thing that will keep me going. And that's what I have to remind myself of, is I'm not alone because I have my memories, and I'm not alone because I have the trees and I have the clouds and I have the rabbits and the birds and the grass, and my parents gave me life. They wanted me to live. They wanted me to do something with this life. They wanted me to contribute something. They wanted me they would want me to continue and to be here, even though I don't know how to do that. And I don't know what it's going to look like. And I don't know what life is without them. I don't know what life is without her. As I've gotten older and I've gone through more things in my life, I have realized that we do need the spiritual. It doesn't mean that we need to believe in God or dogma or some kind of religion, but we do need that spiritual radiance that I mentioned, or that veritas, that spiritual connection to at least nature. If you can't find it in a deity, and I don't, we can at least turn to the natural world to feel some kind of spirituality or some kind of connection to life. That is what I think nature gives us, is a reminder that there are mysteries. There are things larger than us. There are eons that came before us and will come after us. Nature can be a source of comfort. I find meaning in love and in art and in nature. Those are the things that I live for, and nature is a big one. Being in my body, being alive, being grateful to be alive. That's what I try to do now. And so this film is about the spiritual connection to nature and how you can find consolation in it, the way that Satsuki and Mei do. And in a way, I feel like my connection to nature started in my childhood, just like it does for Satsuki and Mei. Their trip to the countryside and their contact with Totoro and the forest spirits and all of that will stay with them. And so they will have this experience in their childhood that will remain with them. And there seems to be a message there about making sure that children are connected to the world around them, that they're connected to the fields and the trees and the grass, that they can feel the breath of the earth, that they can understand that they are one part of a whole, which is this planet, which is the universe and the cosmos. They're one little family, but they're all families, aren't they? They're two little girls, but they're all little girls, or all children. That's what I think is so powerful about Studio Ghibli, is it's very specific, but also very universal. And Miyazaki does have a lot of criticisms of modern life. He does have criticisms about the way young people are disconnected from the earth. And I think he, as well as many others, have seen how dangerous it is for us to be alienated from nature, to see nature as something separate from us, or something alien, or something to be dominated or tamed or controlled. Instead, in My Neighbor Totoro, nature is a companion. Nature is a comfort. It's a consolation. It's a source of protection. It's not something for you to destroy or dominate or try to control. It is part of you, and you are part of it. And there is a soul in these trees. There is a soul in the forest. There is a soul in the fields. There's a soul in the food that comes from the soil. And if we cut down the trees and we destroy nature, we are destroying the soul of the world, and we are destroying ourselves and our own souls. It's very hard for me to even watch nature documentaries anymore. I grew up watching different ones like Planet Earth, and I know David Attenborough has a lot of different ones. It has become very hard for me as climate change has accelerated the last few years. It's been hard to even watch nature documentaries because I feel like I am grieving what we are destroying. The animals that are going extinct, the glaciers that are melting, the harm that we are doing to the earth, and the things that we're losing and that are being destroyed. It's too painful to see this beauty that we were given. I mean, we don't know how all of this was created or where it came from or anything like that, right? But here is something so beautiful and we are destroying it, or we are not even admiring it or cherishing it or revering it the way that we should. And so I love this film because it connects us to the spiritual radiance of nature. Hildegard von Bingen's greening power of God, Veritas, a reminder that what is green is good, what is green is beautiful, that vegetation and that foliage and that greenery is the heartbeat of the world. And it brings me so much solace when I'm out in it. I almost dissolve into it. I almost merge with it. I remember when I was a little girl and I would go into the forest and I loved to just lay down and look up at the canopy of the trees. Or I used to like to lay in the grass and look at the clouds and the shapes that they made. And I felt so free and I felt so whole. I've been through so much pain. I was such a lonely child. I didn't have a sister. I didn't have a bunch of friends. My friend was nature, or my friend was books, or my friend was a film. I found friends through art and the natural wonders of the world. And when I was outside with the grass and the trees and the meadows and the sky and the clouds, when I was walking or laying in all that greenery, that's when I felt most alive. That's when I felt most free. That's when I felt most comforted and most myself, felt deeply connected to my own soul. And I've been thinking recently about what the internet has done to our brains, what social media has done, the fracturing, the fragmentation, or even the grief that has broken and shattered my mind. And I think about who I was years and years ago, that natural state of me as a little girl or as a child, and the way I used to think and the way I used to write, the way I used to read so many books, and the way I was just in my own little world, and how alive and free and whole I felt in that. And I do want to find a way back to it. And I think that a film like My Neighbor Totoro, or a lot of the films of Studio Ghibli, like I said, they become like these breadcrumbs leading you back to different versions of yourself and back to your childhood. I mean, I know I can't go back. I know I can't go back, even though that time exists and it lives inside me. I can never go back to my childhood home. I can never go back to those forests. I can never go back to those rooms with my mom and my dad. But there is some part of me that wants to retrieve her, wants to retrieve that part of me. Maybe that's my soul. Like my soul is just deeply connected to my childhood and to my parents and to who I was back then. And I think this film just made me think about all that, about my family, about what I lost, what I'll never have again except in my memories. There's a sadness to me, I guess, now, like a sorrow. I guess I've always had it. I mean, I had it after my dad died, but nothing prepares you for losing your mother. It is a different experience. It is a different level of pain. It is a soul pain. I hurt in the depths of my soul. Everything in me hurts. My cells hurt. But I try to remember that I have my life and I'm here and I am held. I'm held by memory. I'm held by nature and I'm held by cinema. Cinema comforts me. It holds me. It brings me solace. This film did, as painful as it was a little bit to remember what I had lost. It was also very beautiful to see this family, to see them whole, to see that they get their mother back, to see the way their father loved them, to see the way that nature protected them, the way that Totoro took care of them. and didn't abandon them. Everything about this film is perfect. It's beautiful, it's timeless, it is a masterpiece, and like I said, it is one of the greatest films ever made. I truly believe that. And I'm so glad that I experienced it. I'm glad that I watched the Studio Ghibli catalog, and I'm glad that I could talk about the film on this episode and tell you what it means to me and how it makes me feel and why it matters to me. So I appreciate you listening. Until next time, keep watching great films.